The matter of whether Trump was allowed to deport all these alleged Tren de Aragua gang members on 3 flights, only 2 of which are at issue. Here's, I can understand, 1 flight's not at issue because nobody on it was being deported under the Alien Enemies Act. 2 flights are at issue because the people on board were all being deported, at least in part, due to Trump's invocation of that act and his powers under it, which say if you're at war or you're suffering an invasion or some sort of incursion, the president can declare that. Well, Congress has to declare war, but the president can declare the other 2 and then classify people as parts of it, sort of enemy actors, and then they can be deported without due process. That's what's so appealing to the Trump administration about the Alien Enemies Act. You can boot them really kind of no questions asked, get out. I've actually just been looking into this. Maybe immigration lawyers have this at the ready. But here's the story. Under the regular immigration law, where we have expedited deportation, expedited removal, you can kick somebody out if you catch them at the border. That was true for a long time under Trump, under Obama, under Biden. These agents who catch somebody sneaking across the border, they don't have to let them have a whole hearing. Just get out. I caught you. Go back home. Kick them out. They're entitled to nothing. No due process, nothing. And it's under this expedited removal power. And it usually applies to about 100 miles around the southern border. Well, Trump, as he did in Trump 1.0, has expanded it by executive order to reach pretty much all of the United States, to where our border agents like Tom Homan, if they find you and I don't know what the standard is, probable cause, most likely, to believe that you're a Venezuelan gang member, can remove you, no questions asked. The downside of using just that expedited removal power, which is being challenged legally, is that if the person says, I'm seeking asylum, you have to give them the asylum hearing. It slows the whole thing down. These illegals take advantage of that. They're not really seeking asylum. They came through 4 different other countries where they could have gotten asylum. They just want to be here. Anyway, that's why Trump decided to invoke this Alien Enemies Act, which does not allow the asylum escape hatch. And what's happening right now in courts is there's a debate about whether these people deported by Trump under their Alien Enemies Act are entitled to any level of due process before we declare them Venezuelan gang members. No one's talking about striking down the Alien Enemies Act, which has already been upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has held there's no right to judicial review of most of the president's decisions under that act. But what's being discussed and argued both at the district court level with this Judge Boasberg and yesterday at the Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, a 3-judge panel, 1 judge an Obama appointee, 1 a George H.W. Bush appointee, and 1 a Trump appointee, is do these people get any sort of due process before we label them Venezuela gang members and then put them on these planes? And if they do get some, what does it look like? Do they just file what's known as a habeas petition where they get to say, whoa, I'm not even from Venezuela? And if so, shouldn't that have been filed in where they were being held, which is down in Texas, as opposed to in Washington, D.C., where almost all the district court judges are lefties. And clearly the ACLU, which commenced this action, was looking for a leftist judge, and they got one. Yes, Boasberg was originally appointed to the bench years ago for a D.C. court judge by a Republican, Bush, George W. But there's no question the guy's gone left. What happened to Justice Souter happened to Boasberg. He may have originally been liked by a Republican judge, but there's a reason it was Barack Obama who elevated him to the federal district court judge. You just take a look at his rulings, take a look at his wife, take a look at who runs an abortion clinic, his daughter who appears to work for a group that helps illegals and gang members who are in this country illegally. Okay, so anyway, he sided, not surprising, with the ACLU, and now it's up on an appeal to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, and they hashed it out yesterday about whether Trump has obligations to these people before he puts them on these planes. Anyway, that's where it stands now. The D.C. Circuit will make its ruling soon. Your take on all of this, because my first conclusion on it is politically, this is a no-lose situation for Donald Trump.
Walter?
I agree. First of all, who wants to be in charge
of deciding that this Tren de Agua member should be allowed to stay and then answering for it when he kills somebody. Is this a power that they really want, or is it just a way to frustrate Trump? Because it's a power that I would not take on myself. It's pretty risky. Number two, alien combatants. Well, we know they're aliens. Are they combatants? It is true that we live in a period of irregular warfare. We have drug cartels that are obviously incredibly powerful and well-funded in the United States, which originate outside the country. It's their contention that somehow the Venezuelan government had something to do with infiltrating these characters into the U.S. That would qualify, I think, in the 21st century as a combatant. We take people who aren't in uniform and we smuggle them into other countries, hoping that they'll do things for us. They may claim that they're seeking asylum or not. So far, Trump has taken this all on himself. And now this judge is saying, well, I want to be responsible for it. But does he really do that? Is there a judiciary that really wants to sometimes allow these people to stay such that they commit further crimes? So in that sense, you're right. It is a political win-win. Be careful what you wish for in terms of this judge and whoever he might represent. It could be a hand grenade.
To your point, Walter, Jose Ibarra, who is the guy who killed Laken Riley, he was let loose back out on the community in New York after committing 2 other crimes, flown on the taxpayer's dime down to Georgia. This is a Venezuelan gang member of Tren de Aragua, and that's where he killed Laken Riley, who's, the face and name of the very first bill that Trump signed into law, cracking down on illegals. Imagine if you're the judge, if another Jose Ibarra is on one of those 2 planes that he literally tried to call back into U.S. airspace after they'd already left. And now he's very angry that they didn't turn the planes around. Imagine that you're responsible for bringing one of these guys back and another 22-year-old gets killed. That's why I say politically, Matt, whatever happens with the D.C. Circuit, this is well worth the fight in many ways for Trump.
Well, I'd push back a little bit on that. I think maybe the specific case, that's true. But in a larger sense, I think the Democrats so completely destroyed their reputation as defenders of civil liberties in the last 10 to 15 years. We're asking right now whether or not these Venezuelan, alleged Venezuelan gang members have due process rights. And remember, Barack Obama assassinated an American citizen, Anwar al-Awlaki, without any due process, based on a memo they essentially wrote to themselves saying that the due process didn't have to involve the defendant. And, going
that would
on.
That would be the lowest level of due process one gets. That would be the very lowest.
Yeah, it's a process. It just doesn't involve you, right? So that's kind of sad.
But Matt, this guy, this Boasberg was head of the FISA courts, if I understand correctly, which is a form of due process that the defendants don't even know is going on.
Yes, exactly. That's
He's
the
found
classic
Jesus, however.
Yeah. But then from there, they did so much in the area of undercutting their traditional defense of, say, the First Amendment, right? The Sixth Amendment, they handed those issues to Donald Trump. And, J.D. Vance said it was the biggest difference between the Trump administration and the Kamala Harris was their attitude towards, for instance, free speech. Now, this isn't a speech issue, but it is kind of a civil liberties issue. It doesn't pertain to an American citizen, but we've seen in recent years how a lot of these sort of civil liberties problems start on the periphery and work toward the middle, and we end up talking about the rights of Americans being violated. And so I do worry about that a little bit. I do think Trump especially has to be careful to preserve the high ground on civil liberties issues.
You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat is already sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy has already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you. And you could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold for no money out of pocket. You can do the whole thing. You can just do a part of the thing if you want to hedge a little. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, text MK to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.